Finney is the pitcher for his baseball team and faces Bruce Yamada, who fails to hit the ball in his first 2 attempts. Finney is about to secure victory for his team, but on the 3rd try, Bruce connects with the ball and hits it out of the field. With that hit, Finney's team loses. Still, Bruce approaches and compliments him on his strong arm. On his way home, Bruce encounters a suspicious van. He will be the first victim. While Finney eats breakfast, his dad scolds him for making too much noise. His head hurts from drinking too much. His sister Gwen accidentally makes a noise, and their father becomes irritated again. They have to be very careful when he's home. On their way to school, they notice a poster with Bruce's photo. He's missing, but he's not the only one. They hear a fight in the street. An older boy is threatening Robin Arellano. Despite being smaller, Robin beats him brutally and wins the fight, leaving everyone stunned. Gwen comments that the older boy deserved it after the beating he gave Finney last year, but adds that it was a mistake to mess with Robin, who is now the most feared kid at school since the grabber took Vance. That's what the newspapers call the kidnapper of innocence, the grabber. At school, some boys threaten Finney, and he runs to hide in the bathroom. When Robin Arellano arrives, he warns them that if they mess with Finney, they'll have to deal with him. Finney thanks him, and Robin responds that someday he'll have to learn to defend himself. While in class, a pair of detectives arrive to speak with Gwen. They question her about Bruce, since a few days ago Gwen mentioned having dreamed about his abduction by a man with black balloons. That night, Gwen stays at a friend's house and Finney returns home alone. He cleans up the mess his dad left again. He got drunk and fell asleep. The next morning, he wakes up to his sister's screams. His father is punishing her with a belt. Furious because the police came looking for him at work, he yells that she's not like her mom, that she doesn't hear or see things that aren't there. Her dreams are just dreams. Meanwhile, Robin walks through a parking lot and crosses paths with a man next to a black van. And from that moment on, no one sees Robin again. The police begin the search. Gwen tells Finney she's sorry, that she knows Robin was his friend. Before sleeping, he asked her to try to dream about him, hoping she might find some clue. The next morning, the police are at the door and want to talk to him. This time, they ask for his help or any information he might have. Without Robin, there's no one left to defend Finney, so the group of bullies joins forces to beat him up. That night, Gwen stays at a friend's house again and tells Finney that he'll take care of their father. He walks home alone and encounters a black van. A man appears and clumsily drops what he's carrying. The man with the white painted face introduces himself as a magician and tells Finney he'll show him a trick. Finney approaches and sees black balloons inside the van. Finney tries to defend himself and manages to wound the captor's arm, but the kidnapper knocks him out with a can of paint and takes him away. Finney wakes up on a mattress in a concrete room. The grabber watches him. Now he wears an expressionless mask. He scolds the boy for having injured his arm. The grabber asks if he hears a phone ringing. He says he'll go see who's calling and will return in a moment with a soda to explain everything. Finney still has the small lamp with which he injured him. He tries to open the door, but it's locked. There's no escape, just a bathroom, a small window, and a black phone. His dad calls Gwen to ask if her brother is with her. At that moment, she realizes that Finney is the grabber's latest victim. The search for Finney begins, and she is devastated. She prays, asking Jesus to help her find him in the concrete room. Finney hears the black phone ringing and feels a ray of hope. He picks it up expecting to hear a voice that might help him. However, the grabber appears. He's wearing a different mask. This time, it has a big smile on the face. The man tells him that the phone hasn't worked since he was a child. Once I was down here when it rang, but obviously there was no one on the other end. If we analyze the grabber's words, they suggest that at some point, he was in the same situation as Finney in that same basement. Finney cries for help, but no one hears him. The phone rings, and when he picks it up, no one responds. The next morning, the phone rings again, and a raspy voice calls Finney by name. The boy asks who it is, but the voice responds that it doesn't remember its name because that's the first thing they forget when you know what happens. He asks how the voice knows him, and it responds that it almost struck him out because he has a tremendous arm. At that moment, he realizes it's Bruce Yamada, his baseball opponent. Bruce reveals that there's a loose tile in the hallway and that he can dig a hole to escape. He tried, but didn't have enough time. That night, Gwen has a dream. Finney appears screaming, trapped behind the door of a house. She wakes up in the middle of the night and goes out on her bicycle to look for that door, hoping to find her brother. Finney starts digging a hole beneath the loose tile, throws the dirt into the toilet, and covers the hole with a rug. He's waiting for the phone to ring again, but the grabber returns with his breakfast. When he leaves the door unlocked, and Finney gets excited. The phone rings again, and a boy warns him not to go out, that it's a trap. The grabber is waiting for him with a belt to punish him. The phone rings again. The voice reveals that when he was trapped, he tore a cable from the wall and hid it. Gwen falls asleep between classes and dreams of the grabber. She sees him clearly, a man with a mask, hat, and black balloons. She sees the facade of the house where he's hiding and wakes up at home. Gwen wants to talk to her father but asks him to promise not to get angry. He agrees, and she asks what would happen if her dreams were real. Her father explains that her mother saw, heard, and dreamed things that didn't exist. Her dreams told her to do terrible things until she ended up taking her own life. He tells her he doesn't want Gwen to follow the same path. Gwen insists that the dreams could help find Finney. Her dad then yields and decides to believe her. They go out together to look for the house she thinks she saw. The police go door to door looking for clues and find a man named Max. He explains that he's visiting his brother and has been investigating the case of the missing children. He says all the children were captured in the same area and that the grabber takes them quickly to his hideout, so he's convinced he lives nearby. The police tell him to stop investigating and to just call them if he sees the children. Max returns to his investigation without knowing that Finney, like the other children before him, is trapped in the basement right below him. Max's brother is the grabber. Once again, the grabber has left the door open to set a trap for Finney, but he doesn't fall for it. The phone rings and the voice warns Finney that he doesn't have much time. The grabber is losing patience because Finney isn't following his game. Then he tells him that the grabber has fallen asleep and that the door is still open. The child tells him that the lock on the door is from his own bicycle. It's written on the wall. Finney finds it. Carefully, he leaves the basement and goes up to the kitchen. The grabber is still asleep. He tries to open the lock again and again. When he finally opens it, the grabber wakes up. Finney flees into the darkness of the night, but the grabber chases him in his van. He finally catches him, and Finney ends up back in the basement. The black phone rings again, and this time it's the voice of an angry boy. He tells him his pathetic life is about to end. Finney realizes it's Vance Hopper, a missing boy who used to bully him. Meanwhile, Gwen dreams of Vance. She sees him getting into a fight and hitting another boy. Then he takes out a knife and carves the number 7741 into his arm. The police arrive and arrest him. Gwen appears in the dream and gets into the patrol car with him. Through the radio, she hears the conversation between Finney and Vance on the black phone, but she can't speak. The house number is 7741. Vance tells Finney on the phone that he saw a hole in the wall, but on the other side was a freezer and he couldn't escape. Now it's Finney's turn to try. He uses the toilet lid to make a hole in the wall. Then, with a piece from the bathroom, he unscrews the freezer. He manages to open it and finds meat and steaks inside. He tries to force the door to escape, but he can't and remains trapped. Desperate, he starts crying, beginning to accept his fate. The phone rings, and this time it's Robin. Robin reminds him of what he said recently, that someday he would have to learn to defend himself, and today is that day. He tells him he has to be strong and escape for both of them. Robin instructs him to fill the phone with dirt to make it heavier and use it as a weapon. He says goodbye, saying this is the last call. Gwen continues looking for the house. A thunderclap illuminates the sky, and the ghosts of the missing children appear to show her where they were. She returns home and calls the police. The grabber goes out to buy what he needs to deal with Finney. Meanwhile, his brother Max continues investigating. Suddenly, he realizes that the answer has been closer than he thought. Max gathers courage and goes down to the basement. He finds Finney and is frightened. Max begins to tell him how he discovered it, but at that moment, the grabber appears and hits him with an axe. Outside, Gwen meets with the police. The police enter the house, but it's empty. It's the wrong house, and the grabber lunges at Finney with an axe, but the boy runs and trips him with a cable. The man falls into the hole in the hallway and breaks his foot. Finney hits him with the dirt-filled phone. And when the grabber tries to grab him, Finney removes his mask. The man screams in terror and immediately covers his face. Finney uses the phone cable to strangle him and finishes him off. The police check the empty house and find a basement with the bodies of the innocents who couldn't be rescued in time. Finney throws a stake to the huge dog, opens the lock, and manages to leave the house. It turns out the grabber used 2 houses for his plan. The children reunite with their father, who is deeply sorry for everything that happened and for not having believed them earlier. Finney returns to school and is now considered a hero. With newfound confidence, he walks with his head held high.